Now, sometimes a story drops that's just so ridiculous you have to pinch yourself to make sure it's not a horrible dream. A new LGBT inclusivity document from the Scottish Government says that children as young as 4 can come out as transgender at school. Teachers aren't allowed to question them. Instead, they just have to ask them what they want their new name to be, and they don't have to even inform the parents. Presumably, mum and dad just find out on Parents' Evening when Sam starts being referred to as Samantha, or when they get selected for the girls' football team. These children can use whatever toilet or changing room they want, which clearly poses no safety risk whatsoever. Posters challenging gender stereotypes should be put in classrooms, possibly next to the even bigger one of Scotland's dear leader Nicola Sturgeon, the first of the Sturgeon dynasty. A new government-prescribed reading list includes books that feature a primary school-age narrator who says she has been born as a girl's brain in a boy's body and claims that she knew she was transgender as a toddler. All of this comes despite a prominent Scottish lawyer, Aidan O'Neill, coming out, for want of a better phrase, and saying it was probably illegal to allow a child to change gender without informing their parents. But that doesn't matter to Poundland Braveheart Nicola Sturgeon, because she is the law up north, like an ultra-progressive William Wallace. I've got huge concerns about this on numerous levels. If I send my child to school, I want them to be taught maths, English, maybe a smattering of French and probably a bit of art. I don't want them to be told that they may have been born into the wrong body by a 45-year-old Key Stage 1 teacher called Sandra, who then doesn't do me the common courtesy of informing me that my child has changed their name and started cross-dressing. What qualifies Sandra from the geography department to have those kinds of discussions with my child? Is she a trained medical professional? Is she a trained child behavioural psychologist? I'd have no problem whatsoever if my child came out as gay or as transgender. I really wouldn't. I just want them to be happy, to be free and to feel comfortable in their own skin. But I'd like to have those conversations with them myself. I'd like to deal with that at home, and I don't think that's too much to ask. The world is confusing enough for 4-year-olds. When I was that age, I was probably running around naked, picking my nose and playing with my imaginary best friend, which was probably a unicorn, and not much has changed there. Not having my head filled with existential thoughts about my gender identity by a newly qualified primary school teacher. The stats suggest that a quarter of young trans people have attempted suicide, and that's devastating and depressing. I actually think this policy could see that number increase, not decrease, as mass confusion and a crisis of identity sweeps a young generation already bombarded by strange and oppressive COVID legislation. And the point is that I'm not convinced that there's mass support for this. When you enact a policy across your entire education system, it affects everyone. When the people of Scotland voted for the SNP, were they voting for Nicola Sturgeon to remove their rights as parents to have a say in their child's identity? No, they weren't. And if that was put to a referendum, I personally believe that it would lose in massive numbers. Of course, there's nothing parents can do about this, because if they complain to the school, then probably they'd be labelled as transphobic and possibly referred to the Prevent scheme for some reason. But what's the definition of a dictatorship? It's a form of government, isn't it, which one person or a small group possesses absolute power without effective constitutional limitations. I just wonder whether or not Scotland puts that in their tourism brochure.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.